everybody and welcome to Kapowski Reads, and this is my March TBR. If you are new here, hello. I will pop a link in the description to the first time I played my TBR game, but it's pretty straightforward. I just roll a dice, pick a prompt, pick a book. Nice and simple. First, I am going to go through my rolls from February, let you know how I got on with them, and then we'll get on to the new game and the new books. So February, I thought February was really kind to me because I only ended up with 3 books from my game, and I have almost finished all of them. I'm partway through the last one. And I thought I was really lucky because I didn't have that many books, which meant I could fill up on other books that I wanted to read. But I wasn't so lucky. For my first roll in February, I had to pick a hardback, and I went with The Winter Garden by Alexandra Bell. And I hated this book, and it is potentially my least favourite book of the whole year. I know we're early on in the year, but I absolutely hated it. The reason being that I don't think it's the book's fault. I think it's the blurb's fault, because the book was not the whimsical, somewhat fantasy story that it promised to be, you know, a winter garden. You didn't get to see the garden until page 318, by which point I already hated the main characters and I did not care what happened to them. And this book was more about motherhood and motherhood and grief, which are 2 topics I don't really want to read about. And there was nothing in any descriptions of the book that implied that that's what the book was going to be about. So I was just left disappointed and annoyed, and just I felt like I'd been tricked into reading a very chunky book. I should have DNF'd it, but I really wanted to read about the garden. I kept being told the garden was amazing. I never got to see the garden until, you know, 60% into the book. And when I got to see the garden, it was amazing. I got about 30 pages of just whimsy and just loveliness. But that was it. That was all I enjoyed from this book. I should have DNF'd it, but I just kind of hoped it was going to improve, and it didn't. My second roll was for an ebook, and I went with City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, who I have read a book by before and I loved. And I didn't love this. I know there's a theme. I didn't love it. I liked it. It was fun enough, but there were dual POVs, and I really didn't like one of the perspectives. So when you don't enjoy one of the points of view, instantly that's only 50% of the book that can be enjoyed. And the story didn't feel new, and it was fine, but I feel like I'd read this book before, and I haven't read this book before, but it felt like I'd read the story before. I didn't get anything new and exciting that I'd really hoped for. I don't think it's the fault of the book. I think it's just sometimes similar tropes are used, and I just felt a little bit exhausted by them. So I'm not going to be continuing with this series, but I still really am excited about continuing with Chakraborty's other series about Amina al-Sarafi. Very excited about that series. And the final book on my February TBR, which to be honest I'm starting to think was just cursed, was The Way of All Flesh by Ambrose Parry. This was a TBR veteran. I'm not finished this book yet. I am a third into it and I'm not loving it. I'm kind of liking it. There are 2 main characters that we're following here. We have Sarah, who is a housemaid and I really like her, and we have Will Raven, who is an up-and-coming doctor, and I don't like him. He's pretentious and arrogant and just awful. He's exactly what you would expect of an up-and-coming doctor in the Victorian times. But he's not lovable or endearing, and I don't like him. Additionally, this book I didn't know because, again, it's not anywhere on the blurb. He's training in midwifery, so there's a few few descriptions here and there of childbirth that oh no thank you for me. But I'm not yet at the point where they have realized that there's a murderer on the loose, so I'm kind of waiting for everything to kick off, and I think it's going to get really exciting when it does. And I know I will get this finished. I've still got a week before the month ends, that I'm definitely going to get the last 250 pages. I'll get them done, no bother. So I was feeling a little bit sad about my February TBR because though it was small, it was not I didn't have as good a time as I had hoped to. So here's hoping March delivers a little bit better, and let's get on with the rules. This is my March TBR game, and it might be loud because the air fryer's on, so let's go with that. Rule number 1, 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and that is blue. A person on the cover. Rule number 1 is a book with a person on the cover, and I am going to go with one of my most anticipated reads for 2024, which is Dead Girl Walking by Sammy Ellis. This is about a young woman whose mother was killed by a serial killer who just so happens to be her father, and she is trying to find her mother's body, which is assumed to be on her father's land, which seems to have turned into some kind of theme park, which is very morbid but also feels like something that could happen. And it looks like there's a copycat on the loose, and yeah, very excited about this because it's a YA kind of thriller horror book, and that's a genre that I very much enjoy. So I'm starting my TBR with a book that gives me some 5-star vibes. You know, I wanna have a really good book out of my game this month if I can. Rule number 2 is a 1. That's pink. A one-word title. My next prompt was a one-word title, and I'm going to go with Minaret by Layla Abu Layla, who is a local author. She lives in Aberdeen, and I'd never read any of her books, and I have a whole bunch of them downstairs now, so I'm going to rectify that and read some of her books. And this is a book about a young woman from Sudan who moves to London and kind of basically feels invisible, and this book surrounds her spiritual awakening. So I'm very excited about reading this one, especially because she's a local author. I have to read it, and I want to, and I'm very excited. Rule number 3, 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. A 5-star prediction. I've been awful at those lately. Rule number 4. 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And my next prompt was a 5-star prediction. And after the month I have had, can I be trusted to pick a 5-star prediction? I don't know, because it all went wrong in February, but I'm going to go with If on a Winter's Night a Traveller by Italo Calvino. This is an Italian book translated into English. I have heard so much about this book. It is basically like a story within a story within a story within a story, I think. And I am hopeful that this book is going to be like a little bit disorienting, a little sort of mind bending, and just a little bit weird, which is what I enjoy reading. So I don't even know 100% what it's about, and I don't think I'm meant to. I think the best way to enjoy this is to just go in and with not really any expectations. I just know that it's a strange book. So am I either going to love it or hate it? It will be one of the two. I'm hoping it's love. So I only got 3 books again. I hope this is not an omen. After last month, I am toying with the idea of maybe changing my dice to use a D16, because the last couple of months I've had quite a few books from my TBR game, but I know if I change things then I'll end up just rolling all ones next month. So maybe we'll just keep an eye on this and see how things go. But as always, I have additional books for my reading goals. So let's see what those are, because I couldn't get them all on. I only had 3 rules. The first reading challenge I want to get books for is the diverse baseline challenge, or reading challenge, diverse baseline, reading diverse books throughout the year. There are 3 prompts this month, just like last month. The first being translated fiction. I am going with Welcome to the Yunam Dong Bookshop, which is by Hwang Bo Riem. And I saw this book all over Bookstagram late last year in December, and people were chatting about it on BookTube, and then I got it because it was half price and I was about to go on a book buying ban, so I just went, I'm thinking I want to read it, so let's get it and let's read it. This is also nothing to do with the book, but this is a very pleasant hardback. It's got prettiness inside. It's a very nice hardback. Like, there's no jacket. I usually get annoyed by the jackets when I'm reading them. That's nothing to do with the book. It's just pleasant to hold. This book is, well, it promises to be a heartwarming story about a woman who opens a bookshop in the sort of outskirts of Seoul, and I've heard amazing things about it, and I would like to read a heartwarming story, so I got it on the list, and I have a hopeful heart about this one. And the next pick is a book written by an Indigenous author. So I could not resist putting on My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This has been on my TBR for a long time, and I always plan to read it in October, spooky season, because it's it's a slasher, and there's a dog outside. I like to think the dog barking is saying their agreement about how exciting this book is going to be. Let's go with that. But I've never managed to get to it in October, and I figured, why wait? Just pop it on the list. I have another slasher on my March TBR, so why not make it 2? Because it's a genre I really do enjoy. I have read another book by this author before. It was the Last Final Girl, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm very excited to read another book by this author. And do you know what? I like what I like, and I believe that this is sort of like an homage to like popular slasher movies, which, if that is the case, then, you know, sign me up. It sounds like I will adore it. And the final prompt for this section was an author with a different religion to myself. So I'm going with Minaret by Leila Abu Leila, as this story does surround a young woman and her religion. So I'm counting this for 2 prompts. I have Books and Lala, which I'm combining with my Crush Your Kindle prompt, where I basically read a book from my Kindle every month, which it feels like that's the prompt I keep forgetting about. So I am going with Persephone in Bloom, which is by Kate Healy, and I have forgotten to bring my iPad upstairs with me, so I cannot tell you what this book is about, other than romance? Is it romance? Let's go with that. The buzzword for Kayla's buzzword this month is a person's name, so we have Persephone, and it's an ebook, so ding ding, 2 prompts in 1. And my final book that I'm popping on my TBR is my Read Christie pick, which, because of the interesting way that the Read Christie books are being picked this year, I really like it. It's sort of based on publication year. So January, February, March are books that came out in 1920s. So I have got this gorgeous edition of The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which I understand I could have used for Kayla's buzzword. I didn't think of that, but I needed to get a Kindle book on, so, you know, I was always going to read both, or I was going to try and read both. This will be a reread for me. I have read this book a lot, but not this edition. This is a gorgeous edition that my parents got for me for Christmas, not last year but the year before, and I haven't cracked into it because it's just so pretty, and I'm just so worried I'm gonna be touching it when I've, you know, maybe just done some skincare or something and my hands are all greasy, and I don't want to ruin a beautiful book, because that's what I do. I accidentally love them too hard and I ruin them. And I don't want to do that, but I might. So I have a relatively nice and small TBR for March, which is very, very good. Nice and petite because February's not been overly kind to me. And I had a lot of DNFs, so I'm hopeful that none of these will be DNFs, including the 2 ebooks that I'm going to be reading as well. Let me know what you are planning to read in March, and if you've read any of these ones, let me know. I know I'm kind of late to the party with some of them, but oh well, I'll be just showing up. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.